All right, great show, everybody. Thank you very much. And turning up the heat on a former IRS official. Right now, the House Oversight Committee to decide whether they're going to hold Lois Lerner in contempt for refusing to answer questions on the agency's targeting of conservative groups that were seeking tax-exempt status. This one day after a different House committee voted to pursue criminal charges against Lerner. Good morning, everybody. I'm Martha McCallum here in America's Newsroom.
And I'm Greg Jarrett in for Bill Hemmer. Well, all of this as new details now surfacing about why Democrats may have been pushing back against this investigation. The chairman, Issa, is accusing the top Democrat on the committee, Congressman Elijah Cummings, of colluding with the IRS. Mike Emanuel live on Capitol Hill with more. Mike, why does this committee think it's time to go forward with contempt?
Well, Greg, good morning. Lawmakers who are in the middle of this investigation say the evidence against Lois Lerner that she was a key player in the IRS targeting of conservative groups seeking tax-exempt status, they say that evidence is overwhelming. They say she waived her Fifth Amendment right. They say you don't get to come in, proclaim your innocence, and then all of a sudden clam up and refuse to answer questions from lawmakers. But they also say this is bigger than just Lois Lerner. They want to get to the bottom of this federal agency with massive power targeting conservative organizations seeking tax-exempt status. So bottom line, they think this is a logical next step. And so they continue to keep the pressure both on Lois Lerner and also on Attorney General Eric Holder, because a lot of these lawmakers don't feel like the Department of Justice investigation at this point is serious, Greg.
Well, you know, all these allegations of the ranking member Elijah Cummings colluding on all of this and hiding some of the testimony and documents. Do you expect some fireworks there today, Mike?
All indications there will be, Greg. Bottom line, a lot of Republicans I've spoken with say they expect some distractions, some games from Democrats on the panel. I should note yesterday in the House Ways and Means Committee, all the Democrats voted against sending a letter of criminal letter to Eric Holder about Lois Lerner yesterday. And so we do expect that Democrats will push back today in the House Oversight Committee hearing. These hearings related to Lois Lerner have been testy, so you better believe that fireworks are likely, Greg.
Yeah, memorable exchange the last time between Issa and Cummings when the microphone was actually shut down by the chairman. So who knows what's going to happen today. Mike Emanuel, Mike, you're going to be there. Thanks so much.
That sure was interesting. So a stunning new part of this story. Oversight Committee Chairman Issa claims that the committee's ranking Democrat, as we've been talking about, Elijah Cummings, tried to dig up dirt on a Tea Party group, and he tried to get the IRS and Lois Lerner's help in that matter. The bombshell claim is just the latest escalation in a bitter feud between Issa and Cummings. Remember this moment that Greg was just referring to a second ago as we saw Lerner's last appearance on the Hill?
I do have. If you will sit down and allow me to ask the question, I am a member of the Congress of the United States of America. I am tired of this.
Well,
we have members over here, each who represent 700,000 people. You cannot just have a one-sided investigation. There is absolutely something wrong with that, and it is absolutely un-American.
I gave you an opportunity to ask a question. You have no question.
Remember that moment? That was a very feisty exchange. We might see a little bit more of that today. Allison Barber joins me now of the Washington Free Beacon. Allison, good morning. Good to have you here. So tell me a little bit of background on this. What do we know about Cummings' request for more information on True the Vote?
Right. So what Issa is saying that he's found is he's saying from January 2013, some of Cummings' staff members reached out to the IRS and they said, hey, we're looking to do an investigation sort of like another Congressman Peter Welch has done before. And we want to look into the tax records and the tax-exempt status of this one group, True the Vote. And the reason why that's a big deal that he asked for that is that previously you had the founder and president of True the Vote testifying before a subcommittee. And she brought up the fact that the IRS and Cummings' office had contacted her and they'd made similar requests for information. And she said Cummings' office has contacted us 3 times. And her attorney suggested that perhaps Cummings' office had played some role in putting True the Vote on the radar of federal agencies. And Cummings immediately stopped and he said that that's absolutely incorrect and it wasn't true. And so what Issa is saying is that these emails perhaps contradict that. And at the very least, he's saying, hey, this is information that you should have told us. You should have told us that you had contact with them and you didn't before.
Yeah, and there's a suggestion that that may be why Congressman Cummings wants to move on. You know, there's nothing here to see, folks. Just keep walking along in this story.
Right. Cummings has always maintained that from right after they started doing this, he said that we put in a lot of money looking into this. This was not a politically charged thing. We've investigated the IRS. There was no conspiracy to target conservative groups. And Issa is suggesting, he's saying perhaps your motivation for saying that in this letter, which he has sent to Cummings, he's saying, I think your motivation for maybe saying that is that you had something that you were trying to hide. And he's pointing to these emails as evidence of that and is saying that we need more information because right now it looks like your motives for not wanting to do this investigation is because perhaps you were colluding with the IRS. So he's making some very serious allegations in this, and they are very serious emails that were not previously disclosed. And like I said, you did have Cummings testifying and saying we have not worked with federal agencies at all to look into True the Vote. And you do see his staffer contacting Holly Patz and Lois Lerner to ask about some information for this particular organization.
I mean, what would they, what would they say on their own behalf about the reason that they would do that and why it doesn't matter?
Right, I think they would say is, this was an investigation that another Congressman Peter Welch was doing a similar investigation, and that's kind of what we were trying to do is we were requesting pretty basic tax forms, so it isn't a big deal. And perhaps there really isn't, when you read through these letters, there really isn't one particular big bombshell of I can't believe they said this or I can't believe the IRS said that. It's just kind of a back and forth correspondence of do you have this information? The IRS didn't end up having anything, and they kind of seem like they just move on. But the point is the fact that it wasn't disclosed. And I think that's where Issa is saying is it's concerning that you didn't feel this was appropriate to be brought up because it is pertinent information, particularly when we had people from True the Vote testifying before us saying you contacted them. Issa also is saying the timeline is what concerns him, as well as the content of the request that Cummings' office made. And they compare in their letter that they've sent to Cummings, they say, here are the requests that was made by the IRS, and here's your request. And they're saying that the wording is very similar. And so that's why they think perhaps they worked together in investigating this True the Vote. They had something behind the scenes going on where they were perhaps in cahoots in looking into them.
Yeah, really interesting. We'll see what we get on this today. Allison, thank you very much.
You bet.